this evening on March the 30th, 2021. And we have all of our council members present this evening. And I'm Mayor Guy Fugel. I'll be conducting this meeting. I'd also like to welcome our staff and the administrative staff that joined us this evening, and also those from the general public here in person or virtually. So thank you for joining us this evening. Our first item this evening, we will have a Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Jensen. Pledge of Allegiance by switched on you. By Councilmember Anderson, after which Councilmember Jensen will give us the opening remarks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear and kind Heavenly Father, as we humbly bow our heads before the opening of this public meeting, this Pleasant Grove City, we're indeed grateful for all the freedoms that we enjoy as a nation and as a community. We ask that as we meet this evening, as a city, that we know to discuss those needs that are important to us as a city and a community and as residents, that we know to do so in a civic way. We're grateful again for all that we have. We say these things in thy Son, Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thanks, Diana and Eric. Our first item is our opening remarks, and ask anybody to come forward who would like to address the council at this time. I don't see anyone who was wanting to address us this evening, so we'll now close our excuse me. That was the, we have a opening remarks. I'm a little off here, a little bit here. Okay. But anyway, we'll just, we'll close the opening session so no one come, and we'll just get that down to 5 there. So we'll now go to our meeting, approval of our meeting agenda this evening. And we have a few changes, Scott?
Yeah, everything, we've just noted items 9A and B. The applicant asked to have that continued indefinitely, so it does require a public hearing, and we'll just renotice it when they're ready to come back and do that.
Okay, did we note it? So with that, I ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
We have a motion by Councilmember Bullock. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Anderson. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And we'll now go on to our item number 6, our consent items. And our consent items consist of the city council meetings of our March 2nd, 2021 meeting and our March 16, 2021 meeting. And B, to consider for approval payment 1 Instafoam Technologies for fiscal years 2019 through 20 sewer rehab project. And C, consider for approval payment number 2 to Silver Spur Construction for the Mill Ditch project. And D, to consider for approval change order number 1 to S&L Incorporated for the North Union Ditch piping project. And E, to consider for approval payment reports for March 16th, 18th, and the 24th of 2021. I ask for a motion for our consent items if there's no other questions on these.
Mayor, I'll make a motion for tonight's consent items.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jensen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by... We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now go on. We have no board, commission, or committee appointments or presentations. We had those in our work sessions. And we'll go to our public hearings for this evening. And post A and B have been continued. And then we'll go to C, public hearing to schedule for adoption ordinance 2021-4 to amend City Code Section 1019-7E miscellaneous signs, electronic message signs. Applicant is proposing to modify the requirements for the establishment of electronic message signs as well as the zone where the signs are permitted citywide. Pleasant Grove City applicant is the applicant. Director Cardenas, would you?
And Mayor, we're looking at doing C and D presentation.
Yes,
It's the same
that's right.
issue, so he'll cover both those.
Let's see, let me bring a couple of images, gonna help us out to understand this. Did I just run it? No, thank you. Okay, Mayor, Council, these items that I'm gonna present, they are, I'm gonna present both of them at the same time. One of them is the definition, and the other one is the portion that talks about electronic signs, okay? So in our code and in our city, we have multiple signs. But the three most common signs that we have are our freestanding signs. This doesn't, the freestanding signs, right there. I'm gonna use the mouse. The freestanding signs, or what we also call pole signs. Sometimes they have one pole or two poles. We have wall signs. Do you guys know where that sign is? Yeah, okay. That's a wall sign, actually. It's a huge, but it's a wall sign. And we have something that we call the monument signs, okay? Those are the three most common signs. We have marquee signs, which are different. We have the ones that just hang like this. I forgot the name of it. We have like 10 different type of signs. But usually most of them, of the signs that we get permits for, fit into these three categories: the pole signs, the wall signs, and the monument signs. Each one of these signs have their own qualifications, their own limitations, their own requirements, their own dimensions. Just to give an idea, for example, a freestanding sign in a development that is 5 acres, you can put a sign that is 200 square feet. We're talking about, what, 10 by 20? That's a huge sign, it's a large sign. For a wall sign, or requirement is that 10% of the facade of the building can be, that's the maximum area of a sign. So in that case, I think it's a little more than 10%, but it's still a very large sign. Now, for our monument signs, I'm going to say those are our most restrictive signs. The monument signs are the signs that are attached to the landscape. They're attached to the ground. Do you also, well, yeah, of course you know where that is. It's our central bank right there by the boulevard. Or monument signs are actually the most restrictive. The tallest a monument sign can go in a development less than 10 acres is 6 feet tall, my height. And 2 of those can be a base. And the maximum square footage is 32 feet. 32 feet, right? So again, that's the smallest of the signs that we can put on the city is the monument sign. Now, now that's for any type of sign. Static and most of the signs that we know. But for electronic signs, we have a portion of our ordinance that cuts the size or limits the size that the electronic part of the sign can occupy in the area of the sign. Let me explain this. If, for example, the maximum we can do in a 10-acre project is at 32 square feet of a monument sign, only 50% of that, meaning what, 16 square feet, can be an electronic, the electronic format. It's the same with the wall sign, and it's the same with the freestanding sign. Now, I put these images because, again, freestanding signs and wall signs can be ginormous. So 50% of that is still very visible. 50% of our sign that we have in our freeway for St. John's properties, that sign is actually 50% is electronic. But if we do 50% on a monument sign, I'm pretty sure the mayor's TV is bigger than that, right? It's hard to see. It's 16 square feet. It's really difficult, especially if you're driving, you won't be able to see much. So this code eliminates that 50% limitation for electronic signs on monument signs only. The rest of it stays the same. We're gonna keep the same type of signs that we have throughout the city, but for monument signs, again, for a development that is 10 acres, that you can go 32 square feet of the facade of the facade of the sign, you can use now the whole 32 feet for an electronic sign. That's what the code amendment is for. And is cut in two different pieces, because the first one is just the definition. And in definition, we took away that 50% limitation. And then when we talk about electronic signs, we took away monument signs as being limited by that 50% for electronic signs. That's what I have, Mayor and Council. I'm open for questions.
Okay, you clear, council, on the two C and D and what the difference is? Go ahead, Scott.
Mayor, can we, I mean, the genesis of this is we've been looking at doing a monument sign in front of the library. And so this is kind of where it started the discussion of maybe changing this to make it so we can take advantage of that space. So just so you know, that's Pleasant Grove City's the applicant. This isn't a developer asking. This is the city saying, we'd like to do this for our property, but it will apply to everybody at the end of the day.
Correct. So in order to have a sign, a monument sign that is visible from the road, a sign that is in front of the library, we will need to use the whole facade, the whole panel of the sign to be electronic for someone who's driving to be able to at least see the letters or the images from there.
So how big can doTERRA put on their building,
Well,
if they wanted to? Not
on
saying
their
they-
building,
Yeah, on the building.
well, we have to,
On their building.
on their building, well,
Like down in Provo there. I just wondered,
on the building, we'll have to see what the area of the facade of the building is, then we'll go to 10% of that. So that's how big they can
so
go.
that they could do 10%.
For a wall sign, yes.
Okay.
For different signs, I just gave an example of what happens when you have 5 acres, but since doTERRA have more than 10 acres, but the bigger the development is, the bigger the sign you're allowed to have. But for a wall sign, it's 10% of the facade of the building.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, council?
Well, I think my only concern is just the lighting, and especially in residential areas. So
We have other regulations for, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we have regulations on the definitions of LED or what, electronic message is. We have candles limits on the brightness. We have limitations on the orientation of the sign, so it doesn't go toward residentials. So we have all those rules start the same. We also have, for example, we have a limitation that they cannot blink. Things like that, they're all staying the same. All
Okay.
we're changing
Is
is
the
those
size.
the square footage, yes, for monument signs only.
For monument signs only.
I was hoping they would axe out a certain holiday like Halloween, what people do to their homes, LEDs and things.
Are they allowed in residential zones?
No.
Okay, so we're talking just commercial area.
Unless we're thinking about putting monument signs in our yards.
For residential zones, the only ones that can do it are churches and schools. That's what our code says. Churches
Okay.
and schools can do it in residential zones.
Okay.
Thank you, Dana.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we will now open our public hearing for item C and ask anyone who would like to come forward and address the council at this time. I see no one coming forward, so we'll now close our public hearing and bring it back up to the council and ask for a motion on C on adoption of ordinance 2021-4.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2021-4 as read by you.
Okay, thank you. And this will be a roll call. Oh, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. This will be a roll call vote. We'll start out with Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock,
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamone,
Yes.
and Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Now, we'll now move on to our public hearing 9D, public hearing to consider for adoption ordinance 2021-5 to amend City Code Section 10-19-2, definitions for signs and outdoor advertisements. Applicant is proposing to modify the definition of electronic message center and change the established percentage of the total sign area dedicated to the electronic message part. And this was for citywide, and Pleasant Grove City is the applicant. So with that, you've already discussed. Any more you need to enlighten us? Any other questions on this public hearing for Daniel?
No.
Okay, if not, thank you, Daniel. And I'll open our public hearing for ordinances 2021-5 and ask anybody to come forward and address the council. I see no one coming forward, so we will now close our public hearing and bring it back up to the council for any further discussion or for a motion. Council, do I have a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion for adoption of ordinance 2021-5 to amend City Code Section 10-19-2, definitions for signs and outdoor advertisement. The applicant is proposing to modify the definition of electronic message center and change the established percentage of the total sign area dedicated to the electronic message part.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jensen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Anderson. This will be a roll call vote again, and we'll start out with Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock,
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamone,
Yes.
and Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. We'll now move to our last public hearing of this evening, 9E, public hearing to consider for adoption ordinance 2021-6 to amend City Code Section 10-14-47C, accessory apartments, owner occupied, to further define the term owner occupied and for accessory apartments and tiny homes. This is citywide, and Pleasant Grove City is the applicant. Director.
Mayor, Council, this proposed ordinance amendment is proposed by the city. And what this is about is that for accessory dwellings or accessory apartments in Pleasant Grove, we require them to be owner occupied. Why? For many reasons. When we were drafting this ordinance, it was discussed that one of the main issues that we have is that when they're just turning to rentals, usually we start having different type of nuisances, noise, and we start having garbage, and a variety of nuisances. So we wanted it for all accessory apartments to be owner-occupied, meaning that the owner of the property, the owner of the home, needs to live in one of the units and rent the other one. That way, he will usually property owners, especially in Pleasant Grove, they take pride of their property, they take care of it, and then they will be to rent the other portion of it. However, our definition of what property owner is was very, broad. No, it was very small. We didn't even touch a lot of different situations that could happen. And in some cases, let me find the word. I don't want to say take advantage of it, but some residents were it's not take advantage. Some residents were, since the definition is loosey-goosey, they were, for example, it says right there that this was our previous definition: full-time residency without the home. Owner-occupied was defined as full-time residency within the home by the bona fide property owner, as shown on the Utah County tax assessment rolls. In some cases, someone will give only 1% to a person, and they will show on the Utah County tax assessment rolls, and then it will show us an owner, even though they didn't own 99% of the home. So some people were skirting around. That's a good, better word to say. They were skirting around our definition. So with our legal department, we drafted this ordinance. That is, we went from 2 sentences to a lot of sentences. So we were very well defined. This is exactly what we need. We touch every single aspect of what owner-occupied is. And a lot of this is, again, language that we need. And it doesn't make things harder for applicants. It just makes them more defined. I just want to make sure that we understand this. This doesn't make it harder for people who own the property to rent it. It just makes it better for us to define exactly what owner-occupied is. Okay? That's what I have, Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Daniel?
I would just note that I do get paid by the word. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, read my mind.
That's why we extend the act quite a bit.
I take 50% of that payment.
And we knew all along with accessory apartments that we would have these days where you'd come and visit and we'd change things, but right? I mean, modify things because of what's happened. So,
And I would love to, and maybe Tina can just give a synopsis of any changes other than the 1% ownership. Because we did spend a lot of time on this, and I want to make sure that we're not taking a step back, but that we're being protected.
Right. So the ordinance prior to this did not define anything about 1%. That was sort of an interpretation that was
Correct.
going around that
It
as
was
long as.
open.
Right. Previously, you can see the highlighted sentence. It just simply said that to be owner occupied, an owner was defined as a bona fide person as shown on the county records. Well, as I'm sure you are aware, not all property is held in a person's name. Sometimes it's held by a corporation or an LLC, and we wanted to make sure that people weren't using those business entities to skirt around the owner-occupied definition, so that's why we detailed that. But however, there are instances where for estate planning purposes, somebody might want to have the house held in a trust. And we wanted to make sure that that didn't exclude them from renting out an accessory dwelling unit on the property. So we've accommodated that, where before that actually probably, they wouldn't have qualified if somebody was looking at the ordinance in a strict fashion. They would have said, you don't qualify as an owner occupant because the title to the property is a trust and your name is not on the title to the property. So we've provided for situations that have come to our attention since we adopted the accessory apartment ordinance. And consequently, we've also seen people who have tried to like skirt around it, like Daniel explained. We've tried to tighten up those loopholes. It does not undermine the policy that the council established, that we favored being able to establish accessory apartments under certain conditions. It emphasizes the policy that the council expressed, that by doing so, we did not want to change the single-family nature of our single-family residences, neighborhoods, and zones. So I think it's a good tool to use for enforcement purposes, and it's also a good tool for homeowners who don't fit the typical, my name's on the property, right?
So, and what happens since, I mean, we know that there are certain people that have skirted it, and so is there anything that we can do to back?
Yes. So an ordinance like this is you're not necessarily grandfathered, but the project that brought this to its head and the
Yes.
impetus for doing this, as far as I understand, has not ever gotten an occupancy permit and has not been granted an accessory dwelling unit permit as of yet. So they would fall under this new definition. Okay.
Mayor, I've got a comment, but maybe we ought to go to public hearing first, and then we can talk about it.
Okay,
Is that okay with?
yeah, that'd be fine. Unless there's anything else. Okay, with that, I would like to now open our public hearing for ordinance number 2020-6 and ask any of the public to come forward and address our council at this time. I see no one coming forward, so we'll now close our public hearing and bring it back up to the front here for further discussion, and Councilmember Williams.
So I've got a question. Why are we limiting owner occupied in this in the previous ordinance? Why do we care?
So you were not on the council when this ordinance was adopted?
There's a reason I ran.
But that was clearly the council's intent at the time, is that was a restriction they wanted to place on being able to have accessory dwelling units in single-family neighborhoods.
So this is my feeling, Mayor. I'm a big proponent of individual and owner rights. I think city overreach when it comes to these type of policies and ordinances are ridiculous. I think that for a government agency to come in and say, hey, you've got to be an owner-occupier in order to rent this property, it's not the role of government. And so I struggle with the ability of the language here that says, hey, you've got to be, you got to be 6'4" and you got to live here and you got to live here in these type of neighborhoods. I think that's an overreach. I think that if you have an individual owner-occupied right to own a property, if you want to rent that property, fine. If you want to rent the basement, fine. I think that for a city government to overreach those type of laws and ordinances, I think are wrong.
Can I
Go ahead.
respond?
You bet.
So we talked about it for 12 years. And I bought my property with knowing the value, and not monetary, the value of my home, which was I think I'm an R110, I'm R112. So I'm an R110. So if my neighbor wants to put in an apartment.
Now, when you say put in an apartment, what does that mean?
Okay, put in an accessory apartment,
Rent out his basement.
rent out his basement.
Okay.
If he's living there, the quality of my property and my value is more consistent. If he rents out two spaces, his home and his basement, now I'm not in a R110 anymore. I'm a R18, I'm a R16.
Well,
Well, you're in
Yes, I
a,
am.
No.
you're more than a single-family atmosphere. Your zone doesn't change.
No,
but
no,
this-
my zone doesn't change, but it does.
the density increases.
the problem is that the line is so weird. If I rent it to my kids, it's okay. If I
Yeah.
rent it to my
Because
brother,
you're owner
it's-
occupied.
it's- No.
No, if you rent it to your
Okay,
kids,
no, hold on. Let's say that I have my house, I move out of my house and I rent my house, right? And then I say, hey, my son's name, why don't you just take in the basement? According to the city, it doesn't, that's okay, because he's not renting it as an accessory apartment. The problem is we get into lines here where government shouldn't be involved. If we want to go into a communistic state, I'm all, we can have that conversation. But this is not a principle of government that we should be talking about where an owner has to be occupied in order to rent it. I just think owner rights should supersede government policy.
But we also have to protect the neighbors. And
No, we don't.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
a part of our job is to provide safety for the neighbors and
Then it's a safety, not
It could be.
not an ordinance
you
that
wanna
changes
go-
the owner occupied of
because
a.
here's the thing, Todd, if someone is VRBOing their property and they have strangers coming and going all the time and they've got 10 cars parked there all the time, that's a safety issue for that neighborhood.
Then it's a code issue.
Well, maybe it
Okay,
is.
so then we
but
got to talk about
You're
code.
creating
Yes,
duplexes.
not-
and we did talk about it for a very long time.
We talked about that, and it's a duplex issue. If everyone on their street was not owner occupied, you'd have duplexes in every single, it could be all over the city. I wouldn't want that in my neighborhood. I moved in and built my home in a single family
government
residential
overreach.
neighborhood. I don't think we're allowing them to rent half of their home or build an accessory apartment. We're trying to find that balance between private property rights and allowing them to do what they want, with also balancing the rest of the community and their neighbors. And we do have a responsibility, and there has to be some guidance and policy set, or it's a free-for-all, and there's total chaos in these neighborhoods.
There is 500 words of policy on
Yeah.
that form.
Yep.
In my opinion, I am not in favor of that, and I think that's government overreach. The government should not be involved in.
But I'm gonna give you the names of the neighbors that we're talking specifically about this, and you go have a chat with them. And your mind will be changed by the time you get done speaking about what's going on in their neighborhood.
America is about individual ownership rights.
Okay, you go talk to them, because what's going on is not right.
We can't police our way.
Okay, we've had your comment, we replied. Anybody else want to reply to?
Well, I think Tina wanted to say something, then I'll speak, I guess.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
So I will. I'll just give my 2 cents, right? So I've been on the council for a while, and I remember even on planning commission, this was a very intensified discussion, right? But when it came to these rights we're talking about property rights, individual rights, having accessory apartments, it was a big discussion. But the big discussion, I guess, was favored towards having some regulation here, right? We took many comments and public hearings on that. I mean, Tina probably remembers this all over the place. And you can probably, Todd, I'll just encourage you to go back and look at a lot of these comments and the past, why we arrived at where we did, and probably why we're arriving to having 500 plus words, because there's always going to be those individuals that want to ride that gray area, that put in certain neighborhoods some, and I'll just call it some dangers, right? And we as a council have the right, we're elected to look out for the health and safety of our city. And the reason we came to this conclusion, because I'm not going to go and rehash 12 years worth of information, is why we got to where we're at, because a lot of citizens felt this way. And so I applaud because I know the history behind what this red means here. And it means a lot, and I say thank you, so.
Okay, anything else, council? I appreciate all of your input and your, on this, and so now we will ask for a motion on ordinance 2021-6. Do I have a
Yeah.
motion?
I would love to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2021-6 to amend city code section 10-14-47C, accessory apartments, owner occupied, to further define the term owner occupied for accessory apartments and tiny homes. That's citywide.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Anderson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Jensen. And this will be a roll call vote, and we'll start out with Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock.
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Lamone. Yes. Councilmember Williams.
No.
Duly noted. We have a 4-5 vote here, 4-1 vote, and so the motion carries. And so, thank you for, that concludes our public hearings for this evening. And before we go to our action items ready for vote this evening, I see we have a special guest that has arrived here this evening.
Yes.
And I would like our representative to come forward and address us just for a minute, if you've got the strength to do it.
Look at you walk in.
I'm alive. My voice doesn't sound like it, but I am. Yeah, it's good to be here. I didn't have I had 3 votes during this session. Some of them were just kind of maybe in there, but they're on video. So I have no idea what really actually happened during the session. I was asleep for most of it, literally. But
But that happens anyway, right?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just teasing.
that does.
I'm just teasing.
Especially when you're talking about housing ordinances and stuff like that. So, but it's good to be here. I just thought I'd wander in and
We are thrilled.
see what you guys are up to.
Yeah, we're thrilled you're
I was shocked to see you walk in,
Yes,
so.
Yeah, my recovery's coming along pretty well.
yeah,
So, thanks.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
The article was very nice in the, was it in the Deseret News? I
Yeah.
can't remember. Yeah, that was
yeah,
very nice.
They've been interested in following up with me, and I think we're gonna stay out of the media for a while now.
Okay,
But we've been in a lot of them, so
yeah.
It's good to see
anyway,
you.
thanks.
so you were a point of discussion at most of all of our council meetings,
Oh.
getting the update on what your
Yep.
condition was.
Well,
And a lot of times it was pretty darn bleak.
it was, yeah. I'm coming to find that out more and more. I was sedated for the parts where it was pretty bleak, so, but Mary's been updating me on different things. My mind's pretty good. I don't remember it because I was under sedation, but a lot of people who go through COVID or experience a lot of cloudiness in their decision making and their processing. But I haven't had that experience, so knock on wood that it doesn't pop up. But I appreciate your support, and we're just trying to get back to normal. So, yeah,
John, what can we do for you?
nothing. I just, I gotta start walking around a little bit more. I reached 1.5 miles yesterday, so
Yay, that's
yeah.
awesome.
That is thrilling.
so
Just
it's,
little accomplishments along the way.
Yeah. I had a pulmonary checkup this afternoon, and my lungs are bad. They're I've got cysts and water in my lungs, so it's just trying to get capacity back in my lungs and trying to figure out, what I can do. They don't know. There will be a plateau sometime, but they don't know exactly when. So I'm not going to be running along the trail anytime soon. But, we're just making small progress.
You're the trailblazer on
Yeah.
anyone that was out that long.
But you can walk
Yeah.
along the trail with your family,
Yeah.
and that's
yeah,
all that matters.
Yeah. So,
Well, if you remember, 2 weeks before you came down with it, you had lunch with Scott and I.
yeah.
And so you didn't get it from us, okay?
No, I
okay.
didn't. I actually have
And we
no
didn't
idea.
get it from you.
That's good.
Okay. that's-
Apparently my strain was really bad, so.
Yeah, we don't want your strain.
But I have no idea where I got it. And it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't.
I'm not going to go, knock on doors and, get mad at people. But, everybody in the community's been really supportive. And I've felt, and Mary, through Mary, I've felt a lot of love and support for our family, a lot of prayers
Yes.
on our behalf. So I appreciate it. So,
Thank you. Thank you for coming
yeah, you
tonight.
bet.
Oh, what a thrill.
good
You're
to be
awesome,
here.
John.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll now move to our action items this evening. 10A, to consider for approval a 7-lot final subdivision plat called Sunny Cove Estates Plat B on property located approximately 2150 north, 270 east in the R1-20 Single Family Residential Zone, Big Springs Neighborhood, and Amplify Walk LLC is the applicant. Director Cardenas, we'll give you the time again.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I don't know if you guys know, but John Hawkins was part of my planning commission. He served faithfully and he dedicated good time to it. He was one of the few ones that texted me Friday night about an issue, because he would literally take it to his heart and work hard on them, right? So, well, so glad he's doing better. So, it's this proposal, Mayor. It's for a subdivision, a residential subdivision, 7 lots in what we've been developing around this area called Savage Estates. Now, this one, it has a different name, but is the area right there surrounded in that purple line. As we can see a little bit toward the west, there's a subdivision right there. We rezoned that into R120, and we already have some lots. We actually have some homes going on right there. And what the applicant is proposing, we can see another image right there, is on that area to the east to come up with 7 new lots. And it's gonna look something like this, okay? So we can see the lots. This is an R120 zone. These lots are way bigger than the minimum requirement, okay? So there's, I got it right here. There's an easement. It's called the 100-foot aqueduct easement. It's that blue line that goes right there that I draw in blue. And one thing that it will be required for the applicant before he records this subdivision is that he will need to get a permit to have vehicular access and also for the utilities. As we can see, for example, let's take a look at lot number 12. This is lot number 12. We can see it. I'm using my cursor right here. And this is the property line, runs right here. And I'm pretty sure the home will have to be built in the back. However, again, to cross that with a driveway or to go to put the utilities that run on this road toward the back of the lot, again, the people or the company that manage and own the 100-foot aqueduct easement, they need to approve that for utility and for access. We don't have that yet, so we're gonna have to put that as a condition of approval. Okay. Also, where applicable, we will require some cross-access and utility easements to be put into the plat. The minimum that those easements can address will be culinary water, secondary water, pretty much all the utilities. They're not there yet, so we will put that as a condition of approval. With those 2 conditions, the development will meet every requirement that we have for subdivisions within our city. Okay?
Okay. Go ahead, Ted.
That's what I have, Mayor and Council.
Any
We
other
went to the Planning
questions?
Commission and
So just to clarify, we want to make sure those conditions are included in your motion. If you're going to move to approve it, we want to make sure that language is in the motion itself.
I'm gonna put them right there on the screen so we can read them.
Okay.
And go based on that, okay?
Any
That's
other
right.
questions, council? Okay, then I ask for a motion. Thanks, Daniel.
My pleasure.
I'll make the motion that we approve a 7-lot final subdivision plat called Sunny Cove Estates Plat B on property located approximately 2150 North 270 East in the R120 single-family residential zone in the Big Springs neighborhood, with the additions as shown on, do I need to read them? Yeah. Okay. Provide proof that the companies managing or owning the 100-foot aqueduct easement have approved vehicular and utility access locations for the 5 lots, lots 10 through 14 along the east side of 270 East, and where applicable, shared cross-access and utility easements between adjacent lots will be also required to be recorded with the plat. The utility easements for each of the lots must address crossings for culinary water, secondary water, sewer, gas, electric, and communication lines at a minimum.
Okay, is that good enough? Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Lamone. Do I have a second?
Second?
Have a second by Councilmember Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to 10B, to consider for adoption ordinance 2021-7 granting VIX Incorporated a non-exclusive franchise to operate internet services and telecommunications network in the city of Pleasant Grove, Utah, pursuant to a franchise agreement specifying the company's rights and duties and provide an effective date.
Mayor,
Director.
Council, this agenda item tonight, we've had a company approach about entering into a franchise agreement with the city for services that they provide, which are some internet and telecom services. They have some wireless services. I read through a little bit. They're a company that's about 10 years old, and they have some businesses and some residents that they provide those services to, and they would like to have a franchise agreement so that they could expand potentially a little bit into Pleasant Grove. The franchise agreement is per our standard form, so everything's as we have typically approved in the past for other companies as well. So we don't know of any reasons why not to approve this, this application or this request, and so we recommend approval of this franchise agreement.
Any questions for the director?
No.
If not, thank you, Marty. And ask for a motion for resolution 2021-7.
All right, Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2021-7, granting, how do we say it, Vaix, VAIX, Inc., a non-exclusive franchise to operate internet services and telecommunications network in the city of Pleasant Grove.
I have a motion by Councilmember Anderson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Bullock. And this will be a roll call vote, and we'll start out with Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock,
Yes.
Councilmember Jensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamone,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. Now move on to 10C, which has been continued, and D, it is a continued item to consider for adoption Resolution 2021-09, authorizing the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement between Utah County and Pleasant Grove City for the administration of the 2021 vote by mail municipal elections and provide for an effective date. Now, do we want to
We
have
got
a
two
motion and
options.
vote
We
it
can
down? or-
rehash work session for 20 minutes, or we can continue this item to April 13th, and I will get the council the information they asked for.
Yes.
Continue, Council?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
And Scott, that includes looking at Salt Lake County as an option or someone else within Utah to do those?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll see if that's an option for us, so. Yeah, we do need a motion to continue
I'll make
it
the
to
motion
13th.
to continue item C to consider adoption resolution 2021-09, authorizing the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement between Utah County and Pleasant Grove City for the administration of the 2020 vote by mail municipal elections.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Lamone, a second by Councilmember Jensen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It'll be continued. We'll move to our last action item for this evening, 10D, to consider for adoption Resolution 2021-012, accepting the municipal wastewater planning program self-assessment report for the 2020 calendar year, providing for an effective date, and the director has agreed to not take more than 30 minutes.
Yes. If we all knew how important this subject was, sewer is a
I
pretty
believe.
interesting subject, but it is something that we're very interested in because we all like to flush our toilets and get rid of that. And also the state's very interested to make sure that we are doing our job in providing that service to our citizens. And so they ask us to file a report every year to make sure that we're meeting some of the minimum standards, which we do a pretty good job of doing that with our system, with our collection system as far as cleaning and maintaining that. We did not have any sewer overflows this last year, so which we've been doing pretty well at the last number of years. And so that's what they want to look at, is just your overall state of your system and making sure that you're aware of the value of that system and that you're keeping up with the improvements and making sure it's getting taken care of. So we have to do this every year, report to you, and have you approve that.
So we in good shape?
Yes, things are going well. Have 124 miles of sewer pipe throughout the city,
Wow.
and
So we didn't have one blockage.
there was not one overflow blockage. So not that, so there can be blockages, but as far as blockages that cause backups or coming
Into
out
houses.
as overflows. So we do go out, we work with Temp Sewer, they do all of our maintenance and upkeep. So when there is an issue, we'll call them, they'll come and jet it and get it cleaned up for us.
Wait, is it sewer that we're instituforming?
Yes.
Okay, and so we're almost done with,
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
But we've made some really good progress. We have a great program where we go through all of our televising videos every year and select the ones that we need to update, and about $300,000 a year is what we spend on lining of these sewer lines, so.
Another question, so is the sewer the only system that the state requires this kind of audit annual?
I believe so. I mean, we have all of the other reporting that we do with the state, but it's not a formal report like this that we have to get it approved
Okay.
every year, so.
Interesting.
I mean, our water requirements are very stringent, but those are monthly
Yeah.
reports that we do to the state for that.
Do you have where the backups are identified in the city? Like sewer backups?
Where we've had them,
Because I know that there was one in front of like the Jensen home on a regular basis. There's a lot of backup in the sewage there.
yours has been lined, no.
I don't
do
know if it's
actually-
like after
On
you
its
visit,
way.
it's like after Cocolitos, after, you know, Thai House, there's like, from what I understand,
Marty, I thought that call was confidential. I don't know.
I let it out, just a few people.
there's a big
though.
backup.
HIPAA compliant.
So, no, anyways, the system's good, so we're doing well.
So I've got a question, Marty. How good, I mean, on our lining we're doing, how long will that last us? 30, 40 years?
At least, they're, I don't know, I think that they're more like 100-year type.
Oh, really?
The lining is really high quality, and unless you have something that breaks the lining or breaks the pipe or hits the pipe, but in general, the linings are very sound, so. I think they're a 100-year product, Mayor, as far as the linings. It's either 50 or 100 years.
There's so many jokes with this item, but I'll stay with that.
I worry about the toxic sewer coming from the
I
Jensen
know,
home.
I know.
So could eat that lining up, so anyway.
You guys just approved the budget for the lining project this year, that pay request for In Situ Form Technologies. They did our lining this year, and we actually had them line a number of manholes and sewer lines as well, so.
So, okay, thank you, Marty. And if there's any other questions for Marty, council?
One more thing, we
Yeah.
just started today the State Street Sewer Lift Station project, so if you see somebody digging in front of Water Gardens, that's the last lift station that we have in our city, which is a great thing to get rid of, because they are usually the problems for backups and overflows.
So is that the bore that
We're boring under State Street from Water Gardens to Macy's, coming through that area there, so. But yes, that project started yesterday, so, just so you know.
Okay. So with that, I ask for a motion on resolution 2021-012.
Apparently, I need to make this motion, Mayor. Mayor, I'll make a motion for adoption of Resolution 2021-12, accepting the municipal wastewater planning program self-assessment report for the 2020 calendar year and providing for an effective date.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jensen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Bullock. And this will be a roll call vote, and we'll start out with Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Lamone. Yes. Councilmember Jensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock.
Yes.
And Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes unanimously, and that concludes our action items for this evening. And thank you for all of your input. And we will now go back to our item number 11 and open the floor back up for our city manager to finish our budget discussion on capital projects.
Very good, thank you, Mayor. So we have in front of you capital projects. Most of these, almost all, I'm sure you're pretty familiar with. We've been talking about them for a while. Now, normally we provide supplementals with these. I think not all, but most of these are council-driven, and so I think most of you are familiar with it. There are a couple on here that are new that we have created a supplemental. It is in your Dropbox, and I'll also review it verbally as we get to those items. So just want to let you know, I want to make sure that everybody's clear what the project entails as we talk about this. So heading into this, we have just under $2 million of capital money available. And what we did, sorry, Denise updated my copy here. What we did is we put an asterisk next to those that qualify for care tax funding. And that's just as a point of reference, because the care tax monies for fiscal year '22, which would be the monies available on July 1st of this year, have already been earmarked for finishing the pickleball courts. And so we won't have money available this year in care tax funds, but there will be money available in July 1 of 2022. So as we talk through these, if there's projects that you feel can wait a year, that would be an option for the city council to have. So I just want to make sure, but only those that have an asterisk. If they don't have an asterisk, they would not qualify for the care funding. So let's start at the top. We have our pickleball project and what we call additional fund balance. So this is taking $600,000 of this money, using that to finish the project, which should be done. We have a ribbon cutting scheduled the first Saturday of Strawberry Days at 11 o'clock. So we are anticipating, and we're on schedule as of right now, to have that done by June 1st. Is that right, Dion? Are we still on schedule for June 1st with the pickleball courts, Marty?
I think they extended just a little bit due to some weather delays.
Okay,
It's still going to be good for that.
let's hope. Don't want to cut a ribbon on a project that we can't
I've already
use,
bought
so.
the ribbon, so it's a done deal.
Okay, you already got the ribbon.
Yeah.
And the scissors.
Yeah, this is- yeah.
The intent is that we have future park impact fees that we will be collecting on developments that are going to be happening in the next year or so. So as we would front the money with this capital money, and then as those park impact fees are realized, then we would turn around and pay ourselves back. And we would take that money and put it into our fund balance or our savings. So right now we have about 2.4 million in our fund balance, and our savings, our rainy day money. And we've maintained 2.4 million for a long time. So we figured this might be an opportunity to take some of this money and get it up to 3 million in our reserve account. So does that serve us today? I mean, not really. Would that serve a future city council? Could that money really come in handy? It could for them. So, that's something that as staff, we are recommending. If the council would rather take that and use that right now, that's up to you, and you can give us that feedback, and we can take that money and apply it towards projects. We have the Battle Creek restrooms at $400,000, which is to put a restroom up at Kiwanis Park. So that about half that cost is the cost of the actual restroom, and about half is actually running the sewer line and connecting. There's quite a distance we have to run it to get
And
that
would that be
connected.
similar to like a Forest Service bathroom like that's at the Grove Creek Trailhead?
It'll be similar to the one out at the pickleball park. Have you seen that restroom out there?
The new one.
Yeah, the new one.
The new one?
Modular.
It will look nice. It's a modular one. It comes pre-built.
I got on a photo set. I'll send it to you.
I mean,
I have it on the trailer.
it looks nice. It looks nice. So no, it's not gonna, this will be flush toilets.
Okay,
This isn't gonna be a pit toilet. So flush toilets, and we have water's available there already.
Well, if you're gonna spend 400,000.
So this is something that I think, in opinions of us, is needed for the amount of use that park and that trail gets. We also have money for the city hall and parking lot improvements, which would be to resurface it, put a surface treatment on it to extend the life of that. But there's also some areas where it needs to be really dug out and put new asphalt in. So this is not a complete mill and overlay. This would be kind of spot patch in places, but then a surface treatment, and then we would restripe it, repaint it, is what we would do. We'd also do the same thing. That cost is $91,500. We'd also do the same thing at the swim pool. So if you've been and looked at that parking lot, it's in decent shape, but if we overlay it, that we can extend the life, and then we'd also restripe that one, repaint it.
Is this also changing the entrance?
No.
Okay.
No, as we looked at it, we felt that if we changed the entrance, we didn't see a huge benefit
Okay.
for the cost.
Where, Diana?
So
Where you
they-
come off Center Street into the library.
And change that a little bit so that there's a little bit more space between the drive-through.
Yeah, it makes the space a little funny. And so our recommendation to staff is let's just keep that entrance how it is. Because the cost to do that, I don't think at the end of the day is gonna make much difference.
We have a hand in the back, Director Beaumont.
Yeah,
We did talk about redoing it, so it's not such a big bump where everybody's scraping coming in and out of it. So that is in that 91,000.
Okay,
So we're not scraping bump.
but we're just not changing the layout.
the location, yeah, thank you, Marty. That would make that a little bit of a smoother transition, which I've bottomed out there a few times, so. We also have a number for our medians where we were able to get a price per median. So for $10,000 a median, what this would do is take everything out that's in there, replace the weed mat where necessary. If the weed mat's still good, we'd leave it. But in places where we need to replace the weed mat and put in brand new rock in there, and then we would put in probably not as many plants. One thing I notice when I drive through there is those plants just catch any sort of garbage that's blowing through there. So if we limit and not necessarily have these big plants, but maybe more a grass or something, and then some trees and some new rock, I think it will just look a lot better than what they look. And on the backside of that is the maintenance would be less for us as a city. So if we did every single median, that would be $140,000. The wild card is when the bus rapid transit comes in on North County Boulevard, they're gonna take all those medians out. And so we don't, and we're not sure the timing of that. Talking with the mayor, there's talk that this could happen sooner when I say sooner, within 5 years. When I say later, in my mind, maybe up to 10 years. So do we want to invest a bunch of money into these if they're gonna go away in a few years?
What about cementing over them if they're gonna be taken out anyway?
Well, that will cost
More?
quite a bit of money to put concrete over.
But we don't have a date for sure on when they're gonna be taken
We
out.
don't.
How many are we talking?
That
on
seems so silly. Can I just say that out loud?
Yeah.
I mean, $140,000 to pull everything out and rock it, that just is a waste of money.
Where did we get those bids from?
That was from Elite Grounds, the same group that, this isn't a bid, this is a cost estimate. This is the group that does the Linden, does their medians.
I mean, if it's trash in the median, for heaven's sakes, let's hire a $10 an hour kid to walk the median every day. Well, $140,000 can pay for a lot of hours. That's just craziness, in my opinion.
I think we do take out the stickly weeds, though. I mean, they do collect that should be easily removed, right? So, but I think Dion could probably speak better to that.
Well, I guess I'm saying there's a cost to taking things out.
Right.
So.
I mean, let's just be real. It's not being maintained. That's the fact. I mean, I drive it twice a day, and it's just not being maintained. So, I mean, I don't think there's any attention spent on it to rip out something that's been there for, how long has it been there, Scott? 5 years, 6 years, 8 years maybe?
The medians?
20.
No, probably 15 years. Yeah,
I've been here only 12 years and it was put in after me.
no. When PG Boulevard went in.
Boulevard.
So
It's more of a maintenance issue.
I think it's a maintenance issue. I think to pull it out and spend $140,000 is,
Well, and I think their intent when they planted those plants was the flowering roses, and yes, I think there needs to be a change in plants. I do think that the wind catches everything, so I think the intent there was that they
well,
were going to be
but it's
very
not just
pretty.
trash. It's the weed fabric hasn't been maintained. There haven't been bark put on it, put down.
So if you want that look, then it's not gonna, there's no change in cost. But if you want a different look, it's gonna cost.
Right. Right, but
And so they're saying it's
I
gonna
mean,
cost
it's like if my kid doesn't,
median.
maintain his bedroom, I don't redo his bedroom. I make him maintain the
I go
bedroom.
to IKEA and I get some solutions to help him.
Yeah, and I'm not speaking bad towards the city or the employees, but I just don't think, I mean, when performance is measured, performance improves. I just don't think there's been any management oversight on the median.
Well, and I think we need some different plans, so that costs.
Sure.
Yeah, I think,
$12 a bucket.
yeah. I just think those, we'll call them weeds, right? But I just think they were a bad choice when they were put in because they're just not good.
I mean,
So,
I think we all agree it's a bad choice. This is a priority for me because this is the gateway to our city. We have residents and business owners and people coming to the first time and first impressions from the freeway to Macy's. It's a big deal to me. It's what people see when they drive into our city.
Right.
Whether you're a resident or whether you're coming here for the first time. They need to look better. And I don't know what that solution is. We need to figure out, I think, why they haven't been maintained. And because if we plant new things, we're gonna go back to square one if we don't have a plan to maintain them.
Well, what we're saying is let's limit the plants,
Well,
which would,
can we just take out the plants ourselves and do some of this ourselves? I don't know. I don't know if that's an
well, I
option.
mean, we take out the plants, but what are we gonna
10,000
replace?
seems like a lot for like a smaller median. Like I can see the ones up by the freeway, but like them in front of Macy's and like Panda Express right there, that's not that big of a space. That's $10,000.
That's,
I mean, can
That's
we
the
get,
estimate,
can we
yeah.
get other estimates?
yeah, sure.
Well, that's
And a pickup and a.
Well,
Trouble is, yeah.
this seems crazy.
Well, I think we think, well, we've got the money, let's spend it. I think I think $140,000 on 14 island medians, and I'll go take a walk tomorrow on all 14 of those, but to me, I think there's other options.
Well, that could also be taken out in 5 years. That doesn't make like a lot of sense.
Exactly.
But something has to be done
For 5 years.
in the interim.
so what qualifies in the next 5 years? How many of those medians, right? How many?
Well, we know,
Qualified.
oh, that's true.
Well, this is doing them all now.
I know, but how many of those could be
how
affected
many are on
by?
North County Boulevard?
Yeah, how many could be affected by that project?
You remember, Dion? Is it about 9? 8 or 9 on North County?
Okay.
I mean, I'd maybe like to see a couple more other estimates. I mean, like ASAP, I don't feel like we can spend 6 months because we're right in the middle of the season when we would do this. A couple more estimates to see if this is just way high or right on. Is there any other options? Can we talk to some other cities? There's got to be some other options than just spending almost 150,000 then that could be ripped out. But they do need cleanup, and I don't know how we get to that point as quickly as possible. There's a lot of I want it to look nice. I want it to be our gateway. I want to be proud of it when we come into the city.
Well, I'm just going to give you my perspective, and you guys can give me the feedback that you feel necessary. But we do have one person out there full-time, and then we have another person that's not quite full-time out there. I mean, the garbage it's daily. Particularly if there's any sort of wind, then we do need somebody to walk it every day. If there's an expectation that we don't see garbage in there.
So can you just clarify, so we have one person dedicated to the medians
Well,
full-time?
one person on the upper side that's maintaining the interchange. So the interchange, all that stuff
So from State Street,
from North County Boulevard up to the interchange. So we have that big, huge median that comes down the middle.
okay, so there's one person that's just dedicated to that.
But we also have up at the interchange, we have a bunch of landscaping up there that we have one person that maintains that.
Okay, and when you say maintains, that's a full-time position?
Yeah, it's one of our full-time parks guys.
And that's all he does?
Does he do North County Boulevard too? Okay, he does North.
Okay,
North
so
County
one
Boulevard, too.
person, so I'm sorry, I just want to be,
Yeah,
so we have one person that's dedicated from the freeway to North County Boulevard,
including the boulevard medians.
including the boulevard medians, and that's all he does, 40 hours a week. So that's his task. I would love to know how much time he spends a week. You can tell me or you don't have to, right? But I'd probably ask that question.
Well, we have an understanding. Do you want to come up, Dion? No, you
And I'm not,
probably don't, but
and you don't have to tell me. I'm not saying you have to be accountable because I want you to be accountable, right? But
I know, but
I think you need to go spend a week with him, Todd.
I would happy to.
I've watched him down there. I don't know if you've seen him down there, but
But are we giving him the resources? I mean, I don't want him to feel like he has to. I mean, if it's his responsibility to take the trash out on the median, that's fine, right? But it's clearly we haven't given him the resources, or he needs help on the resources to say this patch of median needs mulch or a plant pulled out and put in. I just don't think that's happening. Maybe it is. Maybe it is, but I don't know, Dan. You tell us.
The staff person that's over that area probably spends, I would say 35 hours a week in his area. He's very dedicated to it.
He is.
The other gentleman that has Pleasant Grove Boulevard, and he has other areas also, the rodeo ground, Shannon, Mahogany Park.
And does he have access to replace shrubs and put bark down?
We have
and
not been replacing shrubs.
How come?
Well, we had the idea that that was not what was wanted, and so we did not replace shrubs. We've removed all the dead and those types of things. The other problem with bark is you're next to the road, it's gonna blow away within 2 weeks. Bark is the wrong solution for those planters. So if we remove, you're gonna have a dirt area, and that requires rock. If you go down in front of the hotel that's there now, you'll see the difference between old rock and new rock, and there's a big difference. Even though it's the same color of rock, there's a big difference.
So if we direct him to, as the mulch blows away, let's put in gravel or rock or whatever.
Cobble.
How much would gravel cost to fill up all those medians over the next 12 months?
A lot less.
40 grand? Oh, less.
Less.
Yeah. 20 grand, 20 grand probably.
I would have to do some research, but it wouldn't cost near what
No.
this bid is.
Right.
Quote.
Right. So, I mean, I would think that that's a much better solution.
To do what?
Well, I mean, as I drive off North County, or Pleasant Grove Boulevard onto 1300 West, there's right there on that turn, there's doTERRA, and it's just pretty bare. And I'm thinking, a pickup of gravel on that would go a long ways. Or maybe just, not necessarily gravel, but, some rocks. Yeah. And I'm thinking that's, $600 or $700. And,
Let me make a comment here. We're talking about mediums, so you have to take lane closure, and probably on both sides. So you gotta set up traffic control, you gotta bring in there, and you really don't have much room even in that one lane to maneuver. So I think that's why these costs are so high, because you're dealing in the middle of 4 lanes. And I see that that's really expensive to set up lane closures and take them down, and it's time consuming. So that's additional people that you've got to do or contract out. And, but I think they could, but I think that's what they've come up here. In fact, isn't this bid here cheaper than what we were looking at before
Oh, yeah.
on some things?
Not necessarily. It's about the same price we looked at before. It's a little bit cheaper, but again, it's an average. And the two medians on both the north side and the south side by Macy's and the Holiday Oil, they're coming out, so those weren't part of those bids.
So I've watched down St. George, and hey, they've got a whole different tax base and whatever, and they've got some outstanding mediums and whatever, but they have about 15 to 20 people. I mean, I was counting the trucks, and they take lane closures, and boy, it's a big crew that goes out, and they move from one area to another area, and their parks and whatever. But we don't have that manpower. I mean, we have, unless we want to hire more people, or if we take away from our other, have 5 of our parks or 6 guys down there for 2 weeks, then they're for a week, then that's a week they're behind on their other stuff that their responsibilities. So really, It's a manpower thing for us to do or pay the money to get it done. It was a bad decision, if you ask me. It was a great idea when these went in. But no one really was looking down the road how much it was gonna cost or the manpower to maintain them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it
So
sounds, and
anyway,
it sounds
that's
like we're,
just a point. I mean, it's just not a pickup truck and one guy or two guys. It takes a lot
no,
more than
and
that.
it's not 140,000 either.
I think we discussed Linden, how many do they have? And I think they contract theirs out, is that correct? Linden?
Same group.
Yeah, they take care of, so they've also, I think Linden's put rock in theirs, right? I think majority, and they've really
And a
skimmed.
grass, and an ornamental grass.
Yeah, and they've skimmed way down on their stuff, so, yeah, I would be interested if we could quickly just get a couple other estimates to say, what does it really cost for a dump truck load of 2 or 3 inch rock? I don't know what, right? And go and
Well,
see.
I think there's a little more to it than just a dump truck load.
Well,
of
just
rock.
for your foundation, right? I mean, yes, there's tearing out the ugly weed, right, and
There's
replace it with
redoing
a few
irrigation.
grasses, but,
The idea behind this quote was to go in and remove everything,
Mhm.
except the main line and the valves, because the idea was to go very few plant material and do a drip irrigation that, which helps long-term with the weeds, because right now we're spraying, right? We're spraying all
Mhm.
those bushes, and so you're watering everything there. A drip system is an individual plant, which reduces your water, which
Mhm.
reduces germination. So, there's a little bit more to it than just throwing rock.
well, what I'm saying is Linden's, right, this company's done it, right? I'm just curious, they have a drip system in there, right? I'm just curious, I don't know.
I honestly don't think you're gonna get a different bid. So if the direction is that we want clean, more easy care, I think this is gonna be the cost. If that's what we want the medians to look like, and I would like the medians to look nicer.
So do we say the ones that are most important to us, maybe leave out these 8 or 9 that the BRT could affect, and we
Yeah,
focus
but
on?
those are the ones
do we have
that
a-
you
I mean-
people see when you first drive into town.
Do we have a plan of what the 140,000 will do? Or is this just a guesstimate of what,
No,
No,
he outlined it.
knows.
what is, just tell us what does it,
Well, he just did.
Removal of some of the tree types that have been dying off, all vegetation, rock and weed mat. Irrigation, install new drip, weed mat, rock, and the plant selection that we will come up with.
So one of the problems is the weed mat has come up, hasn't it?
Yep.
It needs to go away and be replaced and taken down, so, because we can't right now. You'd be wasting your time just adding additional rock down there, right? Okay.
The big challenge, well, if we want less plant material, the best way to do that is drip irrigation. It's the best way, because we're not spraying, right now, we're spraying the whole median.
It's true.
What if we did the work in taking it out? I mean, a lot of that's probably labor costs. I'm going back to like the median right in front of Panda and Macy's. How is that 10,000? I mean, that's like barely,
It's not, because that one was not part of the estimate, because it's coming out
when?
when they.
When UDOT redoes State Street.
Like this, like when is that?
Yeah.
23, I believe.
Yeah,
is what it
2
was.
years.
But how do we maintain that? Is there a plan to maintain that in the meantime, so it looks nice in the meantime?
Well, I guess that means what you mean. I mean, if it's pulling weeds and taking out, picking up the trash, we do have somebody that's assigned to do that. Yeah, if maintained is, let's start over, then that's kind of what we're contemplating here. I mean, a potential solution is let's just do a couple of them on PG Boulevard and see what it looks like and see if it's worth it to do the rest.
Except for is this cost kind of a,
I think he'll do it per median.
Yeah.
We told him that we wanted
Okay.
it scalable in that sense.
okay,
If you just were to do Pleasant Grove Boulevard and not worry about the BRT, you're only talking 6 or 7 medians, so.
60,000.
will it look like the medians across from R&R on, that Daniel put in?
It will look more like the ones in Linden on Pleasant Grove, or on North County Boulevard.
I don't drive that. I gotta go
Yeah.
drive that tomorrow
I
morning.
think we can make it look how we want. That's the thing. I mean, when I spoke with them about the vegetation, it's just, we're gonna minimize the vegetation, a lot more rock, and a few trees. So-
And that is, and I call it the Linden Boulevard because that helps me on
Going
both
that way.
sides.
It is
But
Linden's.
that is what the on the Linden Boulevard, the medians have rock, ornamental grass, and an occasional tree, and I think it's like a poplar or something.
They have a few more bushes in there too. They have
Okay.
some Russian sage and things like that, so.
And I'm not a big fan of the bushes, I just like the ornamental grass and a tree. So,
Are you asking for our approval on this tonight?
No,
Okay.
no. No, yeah, so this was just Dion and I going out there saying, okay, what's the best way to make this look nice again and have it the least amount of maintenance in the long term?
yeah,
Because it might be 140,000 today, but if we can save, we only have to have one person out there instead of two.
Right.
In the long term, we do save money.
And I know you're following our lead on getting this bid, so we appreciate that. so.
Yeah. Okay, so as staff, we want you guys to feel happy about that. And this, it's just been a challenge trying to really pinpoint exactly what needs to be done out there, what we can do, because this is where we landed. Let's just get a number on contracting. Is there a hybrid where we can do some and they can do some? Yeah, possibly, maybe we can do the demo and they can come in and put the new stuff in, which would probably cut that cost in half. But if that's the case, it's gonna take a while for us to demo all that. I mean, because we just don't have that much manpower. The nice thing about contracting is this thing could be done in 2 months or a month or whatever, and we have what we want. And so that's the difference between our guys doing it and contracting is part of that this would get remedied sooner rather than later. So, should we just let this one simmer? I mean, we'll leave the number here for now, but when we come back on the 13th, we'll revisit this list, and then you can give us some feedback and say, okay, this is exactly what we want to do. Dion and I can chat about some other potential solutions for you to consider, so that because in my mind, it's not 140,000 or zero. I think there's some stuff in the middle here that might work.
So
for us.
with current development going on, is there any other potential of medians going out that doesn't need to be in here?
These are the only ones we're aware of. Now, this doesn't include the median that runs the big long one from North County Boulevard up to the interchange, because UDOT is going to be widening that area for more traffic. So they're going to reduce that median, but they're going to cover that cost.
Okay.
And so they'll probably be turning to us saying, well, what do you want this to look like on the back end? So when that time comes, which, I don't know, is that next year, Marty, when they're planning on doing that? Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm scared is that we say okay to a certain part of this money, and then we just know in 3 years, 4 years, if BRT's really coming this fast, that we've wasted some of that, right?
Well, some of that section where it's widened, we'll have less maintenance on each side, won't we? From the I-15 to,
Yes.
Yeah, we'll lose some portion of each side plus the median.
we'll lose a lot of that grass that we have. The hillsides there will probably become retaining walls.
I would guess so, as much as they want.
Yeah.
The hard part about up there is the actual interchange. I mean, there's a ton of foliage, there's a ton of
yeah,
grass.
the
I mean,
sumac have gone crazy.
I mean, and we maintain that. That's not UDOT that maintains that, that's us. So there's a lot of work up there.
Well, so then is it another man?
Isn't the interchange, this goes back to what I saw in the court, but Linden City goes to the fence line of Pleasant Grove.
Go to the center of the bridge, is what my understanding as far as maintenance.
Well, it may be as maintenance, but it's not Pleasant Grove's property. We don't own half over there, because the highway there, all of the freeway is in Linden.
That might be in Linden city limits. I think it's UDOT property, though.
Well,
Would that be
it may
right?
be UDOT, but, so I guess how did we end up inheriting part of that, just because UDOT said you're responsible for half of it?
No, that was a choice that the council made when they put
When they
chose
made,
to
they
do
put in the,
betterments on it.
yeah.
So how do we get UDOT to come in and clean up their medians?
They're not, they don't own any of the medians.
Oh.
Own any of them.
We own
There
them.
are.
Gotcha.
That was part of their agreement.
Ours to maintain. And it's the
Yeah.
same in every city.
It
Go ahead,
is,
Marty.
yeah.
I was just gonna say that our boundary actually comes clear over to the actual lane, so the off-ramp is in Pleasant Grove, so everything that we're maintaining is in Pleasant Grove City boundary.
Jeez.
So right,
Marin County data shows it.
okay.
So it doesn't come to the center of the I-15, but it comes to the edge of the road, and the off-ramp comes in.
Yeah, we lost revenue as a result of that decision.
I don't believe there's state law with regards to maintenance of those things, as well as like lighting at an intersection, and there's a few things that say that the municipality is responsible for those facilities that UDOT owns within the municipality, so.
Obviously, it was a decision made a while ago, and it was $1 million. Put in medians, it's called betterments. And all that stuff was the city funded to put that in. They at the time, wanted a gateway, wanted a median, wanted a landscape. I think the mayor's right. I'm not sure how much contemplation went into the maintenance of that on the back end. And so that's a little bit of what we're trying to solve is let's figure out a way to reduce the maintenance. So that in the long run, we're actually maybe saving money out there as opposed to doing that. And that's why as Dion and I met with this contractor, we're telling them, we want it to look nice, but we really need to cut back the maintenance. And this was the solution. So, like I said, we're not making this decision tonight. Let's let Dion and I kind of work on a middle ground, something or other there that could save us some money and hopefully get the appearance and the things that we're looking for.
Thanks, Dion.
Thanks, Dion.
Our next item.
Next item is the Grove Creek Trailhead lighting, to put 3 lights in there at $25,000. This is stemming from a fire that was up there and a resident that was concerned about people there late at night, and with no lights up there, could turn into a place where people can gather. So they asked if the city would consider it, and this is the number that we came up with in order to put lights out at that trailhead. We also have, this is something that we've talked about as staff, is to redo our mission and vision. My preference would be that we would hire a facilitator to do that. It'd be $10,000, and whether that's 1, 2, 3 days, we're still, trying to figure out exactly what we can get for that amount of money.
Best city on earth. There, I just saved you $10,000.
What's that?
Best city on earth. I just saved you $10,000.
Should we just pay it to you?
G, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, Scott, what do you want to do with that? Let's say we come up with a great vision and mission for the city. What does that change?
Well, hopefully it gives the employees something to, hang their hat on. I mean, I guess the question is why does any organization do a mission and vision statement?
Well, but it's more than that, right? I mean, you create a mission and vision, and then all of your goals and KPIs and deliverances are around that mission or vision. Are we doing that, or are we just going to create a new?
Yeah,
mission?
not right now, we're not. And this is something that, we'd like to take a little deeper than what we're doing now. We did this exercise, were you on the council, Sid, when we
Yeah.
did it?
Mhm.
So probably 8 or 9 years ago. Bruce Cull he facilitated it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of agreeing with Todd. If we're not going to take it to the next level and really implement the mission and vision that we're going to spend this money on, I don't know if now's the time until we can fully, because we can throw a logo and a quote out there, but if that's just it, I don't know if that will cost $10,000 unless we're really going to go full board with what that means to our employees and our citizens. If we're not going to go to the next level, or are we?
I think that'd be the intent, yeah.
With the 10,000, are you saying we
Well,
start there?
the 10,000 just gets us our mission and vision and maybe an outline on how to implement. I mean, that's not cities do strategic planning, they spend $50,000, they bring somebody in, they spend days with you, they meet with citizens. There's all sorts of different levels on how we can take this. I think, I talked to Mayor Daniels one time about strategic planning, and he's like, I don't know if we need to do that. So, This is just something we talked about as staff when we had our staff directors retreat, as we were talking about some of the things that we would like to see considered. That's the genesis of it. But if the council is hesitant to do it, we don't have to do this. So we operate fine. I mean, I think we operate fine on how we're doing, but is there something that could maybe make us better or tighten up certain things?
Was your recommendation from staff and directors that we do this? Was
Yes.
that was their feeling? Okay.
Yeah,
Do we have a current vision mission in place now? We do?
to be the best run city in the state, which is not measurable. But that's what we came up with.
I have seen the $50,000 number. I've seen the $40,000 number, so,
I've written the check for that.
yeah. And so
I get it.
I think the 10,000 first phase out of 4, it sounds great.
Yeah, and I agree, Diane. I don't have a problem with the vision mission, because I deal in that every day.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
my job, but you have to, in order for it to be a meaningful exercise, and I'll even use a discipline of execution, right,
Yeah.
which is a business term for that. So if it becomes a discipline of execution, then you've got to have a management push around that vision mission of improvement or sales or cost savings or whatever it is, right? And if this is a step 1 to step 2, okay. If it's something that we're just going to do it and then put it out, and we're going to put it on our desks and we're going to, tout it out, but we're not going to do anything, I probably would save the money.
Do you facilitate these? Have you done these?
I have.
You want to do it?
Sure.
Sure.
No, you're not. No, you're not going to pay me. No, I'll do it. I'll do it gratis.
We'll partner
I mean,
up.
seriously,
I'll do
Todd,
it gratis.
Yeah, if you
Sure.
got, if you
We'll do
have,
an exercise. I mean, what it would be just all your directors coming into a meeting saying, where do we want to be in 2 years, 3 years? Let's put all the words that mean what it means to be a employee of Pleasant Grove. Let's define what a vision statement is, and then ultimately a mission to get to that vision. Happy to do that.
I love it. Let's do that.
Okay?
If that's all right with
Sure.
everybody, we'll
Sure.
we'll work it out with Todd and get that done the next couple months or so.
Sure.
I'd make a motion to pay him $1.
Declined. No,
Okay.
happy to do that.
Well, that was easy. Does anyone do medians?
Well, we're gonna.
That's
have
not
Todd-
so
I
easy.
think
We're
Todd
gonna-
said he and his sons were going to do that too.
Son's on a mission.
I think we're gonna ask Todd to remodel City Hall next, is what we're gonna do. Okay, so I think most of you are fairly familiar with the City Hall remodel, Phase 1 and 2. So this was presented to us by the Historic Commission. Laurel Cunningham, at the time, I don't know if she's still the director, or the chairman there, but.
She's not, but she's the vice chair.
Okay,
yeah,
she's went to a lot of work.
very involved, yeah.
To put this together. And so what it was, let me tell you what Phase 1 is and what Phase 2 is. So Phase 1 is, as I read this, I think is mostly structural, mostly out, kind of what I call outside stuff. So this would be a new roof, structural upgrades, so, and that says roof-to-wall connections, masonry, exterior windows and doors, wood trim repair, so fascia, soffit, cornice, window sills, and then painting on the outside. So that's the cost estimate. Now, when I received this, I did talk to the State Historic Preservation architect, and a good guy, and I thought knew his stuff in the little amount that I know about this world. But I ran these numbers through Big D, Ben Williams, who was our estimator on this building, who I trust and who proved his worth when we did this. And he came back and actually, he said one of the big things is lumber. Lumber is tripled, quadrupled in price. And there's not a whole lot of lumber necessarily attached to this. But he said, and then he felt like the contingency should probably be more since this is a remodel as opposed to something that was being built brand new. Phase 2 is probably a little more indoor, which is selective demolition, meaning dropping the acoustic ceiling, framing, wall finishes, and carpet. This would also be taking care of storm windows and then wood flooring, replacing wood flooring in there. So putting in a new ceiling gypsum board, attic insulation, wainscoting, lighting, redoing the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, exterior wall furring, painting, and then putting in an ADA ramp and fixing the porch. So what we're looking at is phase 1 at estimated 180,000 and phase 2 at estimated 190,000.
Would this be done in the same year? I mean, obviously, this is why it's on here, but can phase 1 and phase 2 be done?
They can be done separate.
Okay.
Yeah,
But-
so if the council said, we're okay with phase 1, let's do that. And then we'll contemplate phase 2 maybe next year.
Or they could be done together.
So they can be done at the same time.
One of the things, excuse me,
Yeah, go ahead.
one of the things that at least the architect said was that, if you do this, you may get a better bid
If you do it all at once.
if you did it all at once.
That's true.
Yeah, because you don't have to
Mobilization.
mobilize a second time, and then the contractors that are painting are just doing it all. They're doing inside and outside.
Yeah.
Whole team.
How much, do you know how much that would be, Brent, how much savings that would?
I don't.
Till you go to bid, you don't know.
Yeah, and
Could
the issue really is the cost, as Scott has mentioned, of the wood and whatever else that goes
Yeah.
in.
My recommendation is just do it all in one piece.
Yeah.
Let's just get it done.
Yep.
Why Strawberry
That's
Days?
370,000.
By strawberry.
Yeah, we'll have it done. A ribbon cutting.
Ribbon cut.
We got the ribbon and the scissors.
That'll be Saturday afternoon after
Hey,
the
I
pickleball.
start to feel my heart beat a little faster when you say things like
Scott,
that,
you've
so.
worked some miracles. I'm sure this would not be that hard.
So would you be looking more at 400,000 then with put another 30,000
Well, yeah,
contingency in there?
probably, because at the end of the day, they're gonna get in there, and just like when we
Yeah.
remodeled City Hall, they're like, oh, man, we didn't know that this would, once you tear out a wall and you see what's there, then all of a sudden there's, something that's gonna cost more. So that's what the recommendation was, is that, because I think when you add up what their bid is, I wanna say it was 350,000.
Yeah. So there is some additional.
So we
contingency.
did build some in there.
Yeah.
Just for those, so it was 185 plus 133, so that's 320. So we built in probably an extra 50. I think he said lumber was gonna be an extra 30, and then he recommended another 20 for your contingency. So that's where we landed.
Since lumber prices went up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if this is something the council, again, we're not necessarily making that decision today, but if there's a feeling that this is something you want to fund, then this is the cost. We do have this Volkswagen money, which is, we have some approval on a match, which is a 50-50 match. And we would take 50,000 from the general fund and 50,000 from our enterprise funds, and then we'd use that as a match to buy a $200,000 dump truck. And then if we've already, how many have we bought, Marty, already? Oh, he's talking. I think we've already bought 3, and so this would round out what we've been approved for, and then we'd be done. And so we're getting these things at 50 cents on the dollar, a cost to the city, and I think it makes sense that we do that. So that was the recommendation, is to do that vehicle grant match.
Marty's available there now.
How many dump trucks have we gotten already through Volkswagen?
We haven't got any, have we? We've got them ordered.
Yeah, they're ordered, they'll be here in,
I thought we were gonna get 3.
yeah. So far, we've got 2 dump trucks, I believe, and then 1 flatbed. And then there's 2 more dump trucks to go. Those 2 dump trucks will be, we've already got budgeted 1, so we're talking about budgeting for the last one, and then we'll be done with
Which will say just $500,000 on vehicles.
Wonderful.
Thank goodness for Volkswagen. Flooding everything.
Okay, want me to keep going?
Move on.
Okay. We have a cost estimate from Jellyfish, who did the lights for our buildings here out at the rec center at $26,000. We also, this is something that is new, the county is putting together the Utah County Major Public Order Unit, which would be mobilized in case of riots or civil unrest or something of that nature. So the manpower comes from each agency. They would, in any given incident, would send somebody to do that. But what they would like to do is buy the equipment and kind of have a central location for that. So the total cost is $142,000 to buy the equipment and do some of the training, and we would be 5.44%. So our cost of that is $7,757 to be a part of that. And we'd recommend doing that because otherwise then we have to buy all this gear ourselves and spend a lot more money than this in order to fully outfit ourselves. So if we're using other cities and their resources, that's a good thing for us. We also have Anderson Park. There's two different issues that we're dealing with here. We have some homes that are being developed along Anderson Park, which is going to cause us to need to do some improvements out there. So the first number is what we call the development impact at $65,000, which is the new development in the southwest corner has required relocation of utilities, fencing, irrigation, and grass. So that will be a cost to us. And then we have some improvements that are outside of the development. So the development stuff we pretty much need to do. The park improvements are at your discretion, which is a irrigation system, grass around the entrance, pavilion, and amphitheater. So irrigation system. Right now, is there not at all an irrigation system, Dion? It's pretty native. So we would landscape it, make it green, put in irrigation, make it look a little nicer. So that's the Anderson Park improvements. We have, in order to fix the...
Scott?
Yeah.
Could we use like sponsorships on this? People that wanted to come in and maybe do some service and sponsor things? Just saying.
Try to create a service project to put in an irrigation system?
No, sponsoring, like if you got some extra money, if a company came in and said, hey, we love working, doing, kind of like what we did with another park, but on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
Or smaller scale.
Yeah. And then hang a sign like we did, and this park was sponsored by these groups, and
option if we don't have to.
yeah. No, we can. It's just a matter of we'd probably seek some help from our chamber president to help us raise some funds for this.
I'll get a hold of him tomorrow morning and
Yeah,
talk.
you reach out to him.
For now, we'll leave this number in here, but if that's something.
I just get approached a lot saying, what can we do in communities, right? And
Send them our way.
yeah.
I guess what it boils down to, you want to live this more as a wilderness park, or do you really want to refine it and it'll increase your maintenance too, won't it, on the park maintenance if we do one project, sounds like we need to, the other one.
I have a proposal.
More mowing, more weeding. Go ahead.
I think if we plan to develop the entire park, we need to go back to the family. There was some stipulations on the
Yeah, I think they wanted it wilderness.
Was it always supposed to be kind of just a wilderness area there, not a really a
Scouts.
developed park?
Yeah, it was mostly a scout park, wilderness park type setting.
How long was that agreement in place for?
Forever.
Indefinitely?
Yeah, it was donated.
I think it was a condition, the donation of the property. I've looked at it before, but it's been a long time. But there is a restriction on it. And I don't, I'd have to look to be sure. I don't think it restricts us from developing the park, but it does say that it should remain as, natural as possible and used for scouting.
I do like it as wilderness, but I think it needs improvements, and it needs to be cleaned up a lot. I would say it's probably one of the least safe parks in Pleasant Grove.
Well, I think, can I just add to you, Sid? I think I'm totally on Sid's side here on this one, but it needs to be cleaned up so that we don't get problems with,
Vandals and people
yeah,
hanging out,
the bad guys.
less desirable.
It's tucked back
And
there,
it
it's
is,
hidden away.
it's kind of the place right now.
Yeah.
It needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think
Scouting
that a
doesn't
lot
exist
of,
now.
It doesn't, that's true.
and I don't think a lot of citizens actually know it's there.
Silver beaver.
I think a lot of the newer citizens don't know that it's there. And I think, I love it being a little bit more rustic. I do love that, but I would love it to be safe. So I don't know how you do that.
Well, I think what's gonna be interesting with the scouting program changing,
I know.
I don't know how many scouting programs are now gonna come and use that. Because I think it was used regularly when Scouts was full bore, but now it's not.
And maybe that is a discussion we can have with the family. If the scouting program isn't as prominent as it was, do we have a discussion so that park can be more used and, we can get the use out of that land and park space and maintain? And is
Yeah.
there something that we can do to attract more people there if the scouts aren't going to use it?
Yeah, we'll have Tina review that and see what that says, and then if, because what we're proposing now is just really kind of a first step towards full
But is there someone in
development.
the family we can connect with to have that conversation?
We'll
as
have
if
to
it's-
look, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
We have Discovery Park Path, which the path needs a new surface treatment on it. It also has some decent size cracks in it that we need to repair, so the cost to do that is $40,000. And then we have the tennis and pickleball courts. So we've talked with the contractor that is doing the current tennis court and pickleball courts. So our new ones at Veterans, and then the two that we're doing here in the next couple months over at Discovery, to talk to them about the replacement of those. And so they said our number at $650,000 was in the neighborhood. Again, that's a cost estimate. That's not a hard bid. But that would, we feel, get us to a point where we could take two of those courts and, have them redone as full-fledged tennis courts, and then taking the other two courts and having them redone. What we believe we can get 6 pickleball courts in
And
there.
that could be this year?
No.
No, it wouldn't. Would construction even start this year?
No. For us to get it designed and bid, I don't think we want to bid this in the summer. I think we'd better service on price if we, bid it in the fall/winter and then did it in the spring. So, and we don't even know the timing of, what's possible. I mean, when we talked about it last time, Marty said, well, should we, the question was, should we just do a change order since they're already out there? The feeling was we'd actually probably get a better price if we just rebid the package instead of doing a change order. And Tina wasn't here when we talked about that. She might have shut that down from the get-go, but.
I know nothing.
So that's the numbers on the projects. So right now, we're about 600,000 from being able to do everything on here. We have had discussion about cutting back on some of these, which there could be some cost savings. So Todd saved us 10 grand, and the medians will likely come down. Depending on if we just do phase 1 or both phases of the historic city hall. There's a way to, whittle that down some. So any questions, comments on what we've talked about?
Yeah, so we know that there was a $1.9 trillion COVID relief fund passed.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea how much the city's gonna get from that and the timing of that?
Yeah. What we've been told through the Utah League, and they're working with the National League of Cities, is that we're gonna get about $4 million as a city. We still don't know the rules on spending that money. We're hoping to know that in the next month or so. We do know that it will come in two tranches, is what they call it.
Lunches?
Tranches.
Okay, I never heard that.
Traunches.
Yeah.
That's their term. Tranche number one.
2 envelopes.
Tranche number one would be 90 days. It's supposed to be within 90 days after they adopted the legislation. So we've already had 15 days. So in essence, 3 months. And then the next one would be the same time next year, another 2 million. So 2 million and then 2 million. Now, what we haven't discussed yet is, and what we're going to discuss more in depth on the 13th, is the pipe plant property and the development of that.
Yep.
Our preference as staff is that we channel that money to that property and get something done, what we would call kind of a phase one out there. So some cemetery space, soccer space, clean up the property, do some of those things we talked about in the retreat, and just get that done. Which, if we can spend the money under the same rules under the CARES Act, we're going to be fine. If they change the rules that we cannot use that for public safety wages, then that might be a game changer. So we're waiting on that guidance. So we can't really commit to anything. Now, the council, if you want to take 200,000 of that, 300,000 of that to help get this all done, that's at your discretion. So on the 13th, we'll revisit this list, but then we'll also be able to present, here's what our recommendation is going to be on the pipe plant property. Because when we look at everything on that property, it's 40 acres. So developing 40 acres is going to cost, I'll just throw out a number, double what we paid for these buildings. And so that's a huge number for us, and how much we can bond for and feel comfortable, how much we can bond for and pay, that's where we're right in the middle of that. So me, Denise, Marty, Dion, 2 hours yesterday, whiteboarding that one, 2 hours the week before. And I think we're gonna have some decent solutions for the council to consider. We're not quite there to present it tonight, but we'll have that on the 13th. And then, the council can give directions, because that's a decent chunk of change, and there's a lot of benefit to our residents with what we can do with that money. The other thing, just so you know, next, on the 13th, we also, as part of the budget discussion, we'll be discussing utility rates. So if you remember, we did not increase utility rates last year due to COVID. So we need to revisit that, and we'll have some recommendations for you when we talk about that on the 13th. And then this is not necessarily budget related, but we have, well, in some ways it is budget related. We're trying to get another loan from the state drinking water, which we can get money at 1%, which is what we use for the filters and things like that, because we need to build a new well down in the Grove area. And it's a $3 million project, Marty? $4 million project. So we would like to pursue approaching them and seeing what the possibilities are to get a loan from them. In order to do that, we have to have the council give approval that we are seeking that. So it's not committing us to actually borrow the money. So we're applying, but we need your approval to do that. We just realized today, we have all the information, we realized today that that has to be turned in by next Wednesday. So we'd like to have a quick meeting on Thursday night for the council to approve this application. When I say Thursday night, it can be Thursday during the day, it can be, because we know if we wait till Monday or Tuesday next week, we might not even be able to get a quorum due to spring break. So what does Thursday look like for you? Because
Does 5 o'clock work on Thursday, like we did last week?
Yeah, that's good.
Do we have at least 3 of you that can make that? Okay, so if we do 5 o'clock, we'll notice the meeting tomorrow. We'll do 5 o'clock. It should take us,
That's this week.
yeah, so in 2 days. Should take us about 5 minutes.
That's fine. I can do that.
So if we don't, we miss the window and we have to wait a whole year. So
Let's get it done.
if you guys
Yeah,
can
that
help
sounds
us, we'd appreciate that. Okay, that's all I have for tonight. I've been talking a lot. Is there anything else that you have for me?
Council?
All
Thank you,
right.
Scott. That was a lot. We just need Denise to keep milking that money cow on ongoing revenue and find Dion 3 more employees. So anyway, to keep up with everything. But anyway, but thank you. Thank you all for your input and your views there. So we'll now move to, and we'll ask our library director to be the first one today. So he doesn't have to follow anybody. You may be the only one we asked for tonight. No, not really.
So the arts challenge that I mentioned last time.
Balder.
Was photography, and we got the submissions. And we got some nice submissions, actually. They were of trees in Pleasant Grove, and so there were some nice ones. So we're going to have an exhibit in the library in the adult section, the lower level. And that's where we'll do most of these, is put it up there. And so come on by over, they're not up quite yet, but they will be next week. And walk through and take a look at those. And then April's challenge is going to be print making. So if you have a kid with a potato stamp or any kind of printed thing like that, that's the challenge for next month. And the library, just an FYI, starting next week on Monday, we're going to our regular hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we'll be open 9 to 9, Monday through Thursday, yeah. And we're also going to stop quarantining at that point too. There just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of evidence that that's how it spreads anyway, so we're finally stopping that.
Good for you. Good. That's great.
Yeah, and we're gonna bring back some of the furniture, but maybe not all of it.
Thanks, Jerry.
Well, by the way,
Oh, maybe the exhibition in June could be strawberries.
Jeez, so
I second that.
we've been Strawberry City a while.
Shaped like a
That's
Sure, yeah, I think
strawberry.
you got something poured today. There's something new poured, cement.
Yes, we now have a new back patio.
really.
Yes, the other one was all cracked and sloped funny, so we couldn't put tables or chairs out there. And so, yes, we're very excited because we want to be able to use it for summer reading and other programs. So, yeah, that's very nice. I have appreciated this COVID money for things like that.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Chief Roberts.
Wow. Good thing that you had the librarian go first. The chief has done nothing in the last couple of weeks.
Is it on? She's gonna beat me tonight. I really don't have a lot. We've been busy. We've been keeping up and staying safe, so it's been nice. A couple notable things. Our investigations division served a search warrant on the massage parlor on Main Street finally. We've been working on that for quite some time. It's really, 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 really hard to keep on that. And they're working with Homeland Security on whether they're gonna file any charges or not for, they've got some trafficking issues and some enticement issues they can throw in there as just workable charges, but they're still working on that.
Chief, were they tied in with the other ring? I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's some of the issues that they're having right now is they're waiting on prosecution from some of the other cities and their warrants. They're working with Homeland Security. It's kind of a slow process, so.
Are we talking the one that's like right over here or the one down
By Purple Turtle,
Purple Turtle?
so,
So I guess you can't go there anymore, Eric.
sorry.
Me and my sanitation. And
We're still tracking credit card numbers, so keep your wallet with you. Our standoff guy that unfortunately got let go, nobody will take credit for, but we all know who's responsible for it. We were able to procure an arrest warrant the next day for him, and we were able to find him and arrest him without incident safely the next day, so he's in custody and he won't be going anywhere until trial at least, and so we'll see how that goes off, but we were really able to dodge a bullet with that one, so he's back in custody. Yeah, exactly, so.
So, and then the warrant, was on those previous charges, or there were?
Same charges, yeah. So the county attorney just didn't get his charges filed in time, and so the judge released him, and so we got a warrant the next day for the same charges, and now they'll hold him till the trial, so everything else is going well.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Anything for the chief?
No.
He'll be checking up on you. He'll be giving you a call, Eric.
Come on, chief.
Our fire chief.
Everything's going great. Having fun, just getting busy, prepping for, I want to say, the wildland season again. Guys are getting all trained up in refreshing wildland courses. Forest Service keeps saying it's going to be another bad year again. So we'll see what happens. Got some other good news. We did our lieutenant testing last week. We had 3 from out of the department and 3 in department tested. They all did a great job. We ended up getting, picking 2 people out of those 6 that were not from here. They're from other departments. One from Salt Lake County and one from Orem City. And they both are 14-year medics, or more 14-year veteran guys, have been around for quite a while. So we got a couple of good guys coming in that have quite a few years on them that'll, I think, help kind of direct us in the right direction and get that middle part of our department, you know, kind of filled with that experience that we need. So other than that, old Joe's coming along. If you look in the front there, you drive by the station, we got the bed back in today. So that's all painted. So we got all the big pieces back, trannies in, drive lines in. We just got to run some brake lines, a little bit of wire. We can start throwing all the big pieces on. So it'll be just a really slow movie in the front of the station as you watch that, hopefully. But it should be together pretty soon. So
It's awesome.
we're happy with that. So.
Any news on the CPR training? What do we need to do to get involved in that?
Oh, let me get, I'll get with Sarah. Okay. Sarah's been doing all that for us. She's been taking care of all that stop the bleed stuff. And as we get along, as things slowly kind of open up as we get going, we'll put some stuff out on the website also due to stop the bleed classes and some things like that. So kind of get the community back involved and employees, and then you guys want to do that same kind of stuff. So
That's great.
So yesterday on the county commission call, well, it's usually we call it our county health COVID, but it turned in at the end of the wildfire season coming up, and the commissioner's really worried about it. They want to get everybody going and start cutting some fire breaks and whatever. So you'll be seeing some more come from the county on that. But then I brought up, and I says, well, let's make sure we got the Forest Service dialed in, because all our interface is on the Forest Service.
Yeah, and we work with those guys quite a bit, and so we do a little mitigation thing we do every year that puts in hours, which helps pay that. And so we'll start a new mapping system that we've used. We talked about once a little while ago, where we can go through and we can map that whole east side, and it's a live map where they can use, if something happens, everybody can pull that up and look at it, and we can use that for a number of different things. And so each of our crews will be going out and hitting that far east side and mapping it so we can plan for any kind of event that shows up, or we'll have all that stuff down there. We can show where we can stage things, or, what houses we can save or can't save and things like that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I know the Forest Service is more than willing to work with us, because
Yeah.
they appreciate us for everything we've done for them too. So.
Yeah, they've been real good to work with also. They've been awesome.
I'll just look for it. There's quite a bit of heat from the commission about this, so you'll be hearing from the county fires more on this, on their wildlands, okay?
Fun. Yep, you bet. Yeah.
Sitting in my office, I saw a little smoke, and I didn't know if today, it was probably about, I want to say
10 o'clock?
10 o'clock. Well, it was actually for a couple hours.
Was it burning an orchard?
So I was wondering if it was an orchard.
It probably was. We had a couple of the citizens have been here in the city for quite some time. They've been coming down here getting some that have those burn permits, and some of them started, I think, that have the year-round stuff.
That looked like it was in Linden.
Well,
on the border.
it was
It was
very
probably real close
close.
that way.
Yeah.
So it could have been. It kind of, and when it gets on that south side, sometimes you're not quite sure. But we've had a few come in getting ready to prep themselves to burn, so it'll be coming up here pretty soon. So I'm sure we'll see a few more smoke plumes coming up in a little while.
That's my job to keep asking.
You know,
Everybody safe?
I appreciate your work on Little Joe because, you know, that's gonna be my final ride to the cemetery. Okay?
You know,
But I've really been worried about it because I can't, I gotta hold on a little while longer.
Are you
Or
gonna
they'd
drive
be
it
pulling
there, or are you?
No. If I do, there's
How
something.
fast are you gonna take that?
George has brought over a number of things to the station, you know, the old desk, the original desk, and then one of the old original classic uniforms we have sitting up in there. So we'll get that set up, and so it'll be a kind of a cool little place to, you know, in that front area to sit there.
I'm trying to think who the last one before we did commission Little Joe, who rode to the cemetery, but
I don't know, but we've had George, though, he's always teasing us, but hey, hurry up and get this done, because it's like, dude, you can't say stuff like that, you know, it's not, but yeah, it's.
Hey, we hauled that all the way to, well, we hauled it to Park City, up to Logan,
Wow.
to St. George for the Firemen's Convention
yeah.
back in the day there. That was fun driving around, dressed up in the back of that,
Yeah.
tooling around St. George. So we put a lot of miles on that thing, so I'm glad it's
Well,
gonna
she
be
should
back
ready-
going again.
She should be ready to go here
That's
in a
why she's
little
not
while.
running. She drove her everywhere. Him.
So,
Sorry.
thanks, Chief.
Yeah, thanks.
Dion?
Well, we've been busy doing projects, working on our project list. It's springtime, so we've been busy doing fertilizing, aerating, that kind of stuff, getting things moving along. We received a grant from the Eldred Sunset Manor Foundation for $5,000 for the seniors. Working with Denise, we've gone out and bought new tables and chairs. Hopefully they'll be here for the seniors before we open up. But they're the mighty lights, so it's going to be a lot easier for them to move them around and do what they need to do. We bought extra tables anticipating, before COVID, we were feeding about 43 to 48 people a day. And right now, box lunches, we're doing anywhere from 138 to 150. So we're anticipating some of those people coming back in and staying once we can eat inside and get together as a group. Been working closely with the Biking Vikings coaches and starting to put together a plan for Trail Day. And hopefully we can get a lot of volunteers out for that and help with some much needed maintenance on the trail. So other than that, just things as usual.
How's the medians coming since we last talked?
Wind blows, everybody goes to the dump on the same road, all their trash flies out.
We just appreciate you, Dion. I hope you know that.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, it's a busy time of year for us. You know, baseball's going, softball. It's our fun time of year, but it's not our fun time of year. We enjoy it. It's good to be busy. So.
By the way, baseball won, softball lost tonight. So,
Oh, high school.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I forget. That's right. You're okay.
He's not.
Yeah. Programs. Sorry.
Okay, thanks, Dion.
Yep. Thank you.
Tyler?
We had baseball drafts this last week in the snow, in the cold, and baseball weather here in Utah. So it's good to be outside. Like Dion says, it's a fun time of year, but it is a very busy time of year. So we've got all those programs starting. As far as the projects we're completing, you guys funded the sound systems for the pool and for the Discovery Park field will be installed in the middle of April. So it'll be just in time for both of those seasons that we'll have those projects. And they're going to start next week taking out the pool carpet and putting in the new carpet next week. And programs-wise, we just, there's, you name it, we're doing it right now. We got volleyball, basketball, baseball, itty-bitty ball, youth fishing. Just everything's going right now. It's busy.
When's opening day?
Yeah, when's opening day? We got to put it on our calendar.
Memorial Day weekend, right?
No, and Mandy's looking at that right now. She's actually trying to.
Oh, for baseball,
For
sorry, I thought you
baseball.
meant for the pool.
Yeah, so,
Priorities.
Baseball
Priorities here.
or pool?
I know where Eric's
Cool.
loyalty.
No, I'm
He's a
baseball.
baseball guy.
Yeah, I was
so. So I'll get back with you on that one. I'm not, it's mid-April.
Get
usually.
with me, I have an idea on the, someone to throw the opening pitch out for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk with Mandy and I'll let you know.
Okay, anything else for Tyler? Thank you.
Thank you.
Marty? Hey, Marty, do you want to talk a little bit too about, because you were on to the end of the call about our water and what our conversations with the other cities were
Sure.
this last week?
Yeah, I had a good call with the mayors of kind of the North Utah County cities and mayors and administrators and water personnel. It was a good call, just talking about the situation that we're all kind of experiencing with water. I think some are hit in different ways. It kind of depends on where they get their water from. American Fork Canyon is looking very, very low this year. They're only expecting about 50% of normal to start, which is really rare. And so they're really a little concerned about, that means that they're going to be pumping a lot of water this year. A little bit of concern about the aquifers being able to handle the increased I guess, drawdown that will happen because of the increased pumping, because there's not enough water coming from the rivers. So I think that the overall, and Mayor, I don't know if anything's happened since then in the last couple of days, but I assume that the mayors are going to be trying to do a little bit of a campaign with regards to water conservation and talking and trying to get it out into the public regarding kind of the situation that we're in. I think we talked about it at our budget retreat a little bit, kind of showed you the 10-year graph of where we're at with regards to just the Timp divide. And we had a couple really good years, but other than that, most were in the 60 to 70 to 80% range of normal. And that has definitely hit us. As you know, we've talked, there's currently 4 wells that we can't pump right now. A couple of them this year that happened. We know with the Brimley well and the air that you guys saw in the water, that's because the water's dropped and we're now sucking air on some of those. We've also got the Grove Creek well that had a difficult time this year and lost water. We've had a couple other ones that have been, Battle Creek well has been gone for a number of years, and that one's pretty high up on the bench. And they're fairly shallow wells, but they've always had water in the past. So we're seeing that this drought really does impact us. We do have an impact, and we feel like we're safe. We feel like we're able to provide the service that we continue to do. But we do have some kind of just warnings on the horizon, right? We need to be aware of that. That's why we're talking about this new well that we need to get done down in the Boulevard area, down by the Grove District. And that's something that we feel is a great priority for us to better have that availability of water. We do have some storage water this year. We talked about that. I got about 1,200 acre feet. We feel like we'll be able to use that and get through this year. But it kind of just depends. If it gets really hot really fast, people tend to kind of ignore that concept of water conservation, and they just want green grass. And it's a really tough principle to teach about just conserving and using what you need. One of the things I did want to, Mayor, is there anything else, I guess, from that that you wanted to?
I guess Highland's going to take I got another email yesterday. Highland's taking the lead on that. They've got that lined up to do the short, fun videos about conserving water, and American Fork is kind of, and Lehigh is in there, but they've kind of asked us all to kind of maybe help chip in with some of the costs on those, but I think it'll be minimal, so I'm sure we've got a few $1,000s laying, something we can put on that. But then I guess everybody was the consensus that we make sure we tell everybody May 1st is when we will water.
So one of the things that Pleasant Grove has done for a number of years, mainly due to this drought that we're in, is that we've started our water system on May 1st, or at least made sure that everything is filled up, and we've done that for a number of years. All of the other communities, in the kind of the consensus there was that we were going to encourage all residents in all the communities to not water their grass until May 1st. And that would be every community that, of those that were there represented in North Utah County based on the current, drought situation we're in. So, some of them are a different situation. Lehigh has water year-round. They have a different system, and they actually feed their fire hydrants off their pressure irrigation system, so they have to keep them charged year-round. And other communities have them charged by April 15th, and I'm sure you guys have heard that through the years as well. But as far as now, what everybody's proposing is that we wait until May 1st before you water the grass, which is already our policy and practice. So we shouldn't have, we'll still have the same number of, we need to water, those types of things. And it does get a little bit concerning when your grass is still not green as you would like it to be in the month of April. But I don't know of anybody's grass that has died because we haven't had water there by May 1st. So, and if you look at all the recommendations by the state and the professionals with regards to water, they don't recommend watering in April as well. Now there could be a dry year where that may not be the case, but for most part in our climate, they would say April is not a month that needs to be, you need to water your grass because it'll come back in May if you start in May. So,
Yeah, thank you, Marty.
yeah, it's something though that we would ask, your support. That's the thing, is that we just need to get the information out as well. And the other things, so I think we're doing okay that way. I think we're going to be okay this year. We just need to try to promote the conservation, because next year could be really, if we get another year like this year, next year, we'd be hurting as well. So one of the things that we would like to change is American Fork has a little bit of a different watering schedule than we do. And we've heard some really good things that right now we water on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays for the odd, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for the evens. And those that water on Saturday, they're typically, that's their day off. They're trying to mow their lawns. They've watered in the morning or trying to find time to water. One thing that American Fork has done is moved that Saturday to be a Sunday water and make Saturday the no water day for everybody. So rather than Sunday be the no water day, it's a Saturday. And that allows people to do work. They can fix their sprinklers, and they can take care of their lawns and things of that nature without having to worry about needing to water that day. So one of the things that we will be putting some information out, and we'll need to probably get out on social media and things, will come up with that new schedule. So it really is just only affecting half, everybody that's even, rather than Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. It'll be a Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. And so same number of days. It's just missing Saturday instead of Sunday. So that's one of the things that we'd like to change this year, just it makes it more convenient for a lot of people.
Yes.
So.
I like that.
I do too.
So I think that's all we had, unless there's any questions. There's a lot of projects we're just getting going on. We got the cemetery project that the pre-bid meeting's tomorrow. I think you'll see that on the 13th agenda for that award of that, the cemetery project. Like we mentioned, the boring project is across State Street has started again and will be finished hopefully here in the next 2 months. Got a big sewer line pipe bursting project on First West. It's a long ways under that. We got 1100 North that's getting ready to finish up here. We got the design of that done, and now we're just finalizing project, and hopefully we'll have that out in the next month for 1100 North reconstruction. So we'll have a very busy, active summer.
Wow.
Well, the public work boys have been busy
Yeah.
getting that cleaned up, and a lot of whole loads hauled out of there to the dump, so.
Yep,
Yeah.
we're trying to
Looking a
get
lot
that
better
ready
back
for the
in that
cemetery
corner.
project to be able to place some of that dirt there in the pipe plant property and things like that, so.
And I would love to suggest that before the 13th, we might want to take a field trip out to the pipe plant, because I don't know that everybody's been out there.
Love to take you if you'd like to go, and we could
Yeah.
kind of take our concept and explain a little bit about what we're proposing out there, so you can more physically see
Be a good idea.
where the boundaries would be and what it looks like in the area, if that would be helpful.
You want to do it before the 15th?
Well, if we're going to talk about it,
Okay.
on the 13th,
Our discussion on the 13th isn't going to be, we're not going to, be making decisions per se. This is just going to be us rolling out concepts and funding potentials.
well, I think it would be a good idea for, just in a pre-conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if people need to go see the pipe plant, I'd just get a hold of Marty. I don't know if we need to necessarily schedule a field trip per se, but if people want to go take a look, just
And it's fun to
call
see
up
what they're
Marty.
doing. They're moving a lot of dirt.
Yeah. We are trying to get it cleaned up a little bit. We will
It looks
have
great.
some of those trees, we'll get some of those trimmed up here so the property just looks a little bit better. We're planning to do that and clear a little bit of the area, so.
Looks good.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Marty. Daniel?
I don't have much, Mayor, unless you guys have questions. Yeah. My mind just went blank.
Is there updated rap sheet out there now?
There is one. We finished one today. We just couldn't get the building permit, sorry, but yeah, we'll upload it tomorrow. Do you guys all know how to access to a rap sheet? No? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think the last one was 3 weeks ago. We don't have a lot of new projects, but we'll update it tomorrow.
One thing I do, they're building, on North County Boulevard, they're building a building, is that the mobile food truck?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
The one next to the farm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that was gonna happen.
Glad it is.
Yep.
Whoa.
You know, one thing that I realized today, 'cause I had a meeting with MacArthur Homes, is that we are almost built out of residential land. I think we have just a few acres left, but most of them are, especially for the multifamily, we're almost out. I would say we're 95% built out. So, and we have some projects already in the books, but working on them.
Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
I got a quick question, because he brings it up, Scott, and I was gonna talk to you about it before, but how often do we update our webpage? Because it's still showing February meetings on there, and then it also, unless it's changed in a week, it doesn't have the right fire chief in there, in the department, so.
Yes, we need to change that. I'll need to
Okay.
get a hold of Lisa. She's the one who updates our website for us in
Okay.
a general sense. What do you mean by the meetings?
Well, it gave the city council meeting schedule. Illinois had listed the planning commission meetings in February and nothing in March.
Are you talking about agenda or minutes?
Yeah, I mean, not agendas, but upcoming meetings.
The calendar.
Oh, the
The
calendar?
calendar
Okay,
needs to be kind of updated a little more.
okay. Kathy and I will talk about
Correct.
that.
Okay, thank you. So, Denise?
Nope, I don't have anything.
So, Kathy, thanks for your input tonight. That's pretty,
The most expensive department in the, no, I'm teasing.
there'll be more discussions on that, I'm sure, so.
Clearly, there's no PTSD when we come to Kathy.
Tina? Tyler, welcome back.
Thank you.
I mean, you're looking good.
Thanks.
So anyway, Scott, do you want to fill us in on anything else you have for us and also for our the 13th meeting?
The 13th, we will have, work session will be mostly budget, probably all budget unless there's something else that comes up we need to talk about.
I do, Mayor. I need to have a presentation time, 3 minutes.
Do you want that in work session, Eric?
Work session.
Okay.
It'll be very
Kathy.
special.
Yeah, Kathy will make a note.
We'll put that.
Then in our general session, city council session, we're hoping to have the Utopia agreement all ready to go for that to be signed, so we can get going on that. We've met with them a few times to get all the details worked out, particularly the financials, so they're hoping to be in the ground by this summer and having the first people hooked on by January. So that's assuming we agree to the agreement and everything gets signed. And that was kind of the big one. We'll probably have a couple development things on there, but budget and Utopia will be the two big ones. I'm going to be gone next week for spring break, leaving Friday, going on a Griswold family trip. to Texas. We're driving.
Pray for you.
So if you see a rolled up piece of carpet on top of their car, you know they took grandma with them. So.
Yeah. We're renting a station wagon just for the trip. So.
With a Christmas tree.
Hope it's a
out.
big van.
But anyway, appreciate our elected officials and what you do. I know you've already had kind of one salute today. Let me give you another one with a different flag. So, thank you.
Impressive.
Thanks, Scott.
Oh, brother. And I'll just comment on, if council, if you would, on our capital projects, if you would, amongst yourselves in the next, for the 13th, talk amongst each other on how you think we ought to, because we are short $612,000.
Mayor, can I just add
Yeah.
on top of that? We do have that $600,000 that staff is recommending to put into our rainy day account. But if the council would like to expend that to get the things done on this list, that is up to you. So just want to remind you of that there's some potential money available.
Okay. Thanks for bringing that up. Oh, that was still hanging there. So Brent, you have anything for us this evening? Diana?
No?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Ap-
He's got his
April
legal pad
8th, yeah, we'll be quick here. April 8th will be the chamber luncheon at the Tribe House. Lunch will be provided by Mountain Point Medical's personal chef team. I don't know what that means, but it's pretty good. Jeanette Bennett will be speaking to us. So I'll put that invite out tomorrow. It'll be really good. I had a question for Dion that I forgot to ask him about the pavilion up at the pickleball courts, about the roof.
What kind of roof?
We were talking color, and you were getting back with us on that. Okay, thank you. And then I already got my presentation time for next council meeting. It'll be really good, trust me.
Do we need to know before?
No, you don't want to know.
Okay, we don't want to know, okay.
No. No.
Okay, Sid?
Yeah. So I know the past few council meetings have been a little different. There was a different feel, and it may have been obvious as to why. I won't go into detail. I appreciate Tina getting us all on the same page with how the meetings should go. So there aren't council members being asked to do something different than others and singled out. I'm working with Scott and Tina and Kyler on a new policy to address different types of harassment in the city, and I would hope as directors you are aware of the different types that can happen to your employees or with yourselves, experiencing that from somebody else. I'm working with them on updating our policy and addressing these different types of issues. Starting tonight, I find like I finally have my voice back, so starting tonight, I'm going to speak more freely, but also starting tonight, I would like us to have zero tolerance for behavior in our city from any employee to each other that could be considered abusive or degrading, whether it's a man to a woman to a man, it doesn't matter. But especially from a man to a woman, because it comes across as very aggressive. And I would like zero tolerance moving forward. So as directors, if you see this happening in your department, or if you have experienced it or you've witnessed it, we're going to be putting a better procedure in place for people to have a safe place to report these incidences and feel heard and feel that what they're saying will not be dismissed. And I would like that to change. It's 2021, and it's time that this doesn't continue. And I'm hopefully going to be an advocate to make that change happen, because it shouldn't happen with anyone in our city. And I just hope that moving forward, we can all treat each other a little better. But also, if you see this happening with someone, it's okay to ask them, you know, how they're doing. If you see something amiss in your departments with your employees, if you feel that there's something going on, I would hope that you have the responsibility to just ask, because you never know what someone is experiencing that could affect their work environment and how they do their job. And I would like to I hope that we can have that zero tolerance here in our city moving forward, and hopefully we'll bring back a policy soon that can reflect that with our city employees. That's all.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Sid. I appreciate those comments and agree. I don't have anything else, Mayor, unless we want to talk about accessory apartments.
Okay. Thanks, council. And we'll look forward to our next meeting on the 13th. So with that, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by
to
Councilmember Williams, a
I'll
second by
second that.
Councilmember Jensen. All in favor, say aye.